Reconvening open session 6 of procedural business. Call to order. The Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening the open session at 5:32 p.m. Roll call. Trustees identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish quorum. Dr. William Hellinger, Trustee Area 1. Scott Pratt, Trustee Area 4. Gordon Girardi, Trustee Area 5. Brandon Springs, Arrow Valley, Green Valley, right? And as mentioned earlier in our pre-session, two of our trustees, one is out of country and one is at a very special family event. Pledge of Allegiance will be led tonight by our own Superintendent, Dr. Paul Sevian. Stand. Okay, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public testimony. Is there any public testimony tonight? There is no. Then you will proceed. Yes, you. 7.1. I did see it. Sorry. 7.1 closed session report. I apologize for jumping in the order. There is no reportable action from tonight's closed session. And then public testimony, there is none. Don't see any representatives for RTA or CSCAA. Okay, so number 9, reports and presentations. One is educational services presentation by the advancement via individual determination or AVID teacher and scholarship recipient participation with Ribbon of the World Educational Foundation on the advancement via individual determinations having success and impact on students.
They're not here yet, and if they show, then we will come back to that presentation.
Yes, that okay for? Yes, we'll jump back at that point. With that, we'll move to 9.2, which is governing board members. Do either of you want to start or you want me to begin?
I just make a comment about that. You were told this is not speaking time. So I think that if he speaks to one of our scholarship ones, so I think that people are not going to come to that. I'm here because I always, but I think that they may not come at all.
Thank you. We didn't receive that communication, but thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, so governing 9.2, governing board members, I just want to say I hope that our staff that is able to be away is enjoying their break this summer. I appreciate those who are a part of our summer program, and hopefully our students will excel because of that. And again, blessings on all those who have retired or moved on to other positions. So thanks for doing that. I frankly still am concerned about what the governor is doing with our funds and with our budget. We'll continue to try to respond appropriately to that. But why don't you go next, Scott?
I just quickly concur that I wish everybody a safe and wonderful summer. I am also still jealous since I don't get that anymore. So, congrats.
And Jordan, please.
Thank you both said it wonderfully.
Well, with that, we will move on to 9.3, Superintendent Dr. Paul Sevian.
I don't have a whole lot. I want to also wish everyone some time off and rest, their families. It's been a really rewarding school year. We've made tremendous progress as a school district towards a number of initiatives that the board had set for the district. I will highlight one the last day and a half I have spent with the county, San Bernardino County Superintendents of Schools hosting a leadership summit up in here in Lake Arrowhead Resort. And what came out of that was just the appreciation of the environment that we live in. The comments were just over the top with how beautiful this community is, well, how fortunate we are to live in a community that has such great environment for students to grow up and for families to thrive. So I want to share those comments that was said by a lot of folks from county office, as well as all the county-wide superintendents were up here. We met today as well, and they're just so appreciative of our community allowing them to host that event up there. And it was really well received from the entire county.
Excellent, thank you, Dr. Saviano. Now with that, we'll move to 9.4, educational services presentation of the 2026-27 local performance indicators self-reflection. And Dr. Saviano, I believe you are going to lead that presentation.
Yes, bear with me. This Whiteside has completed this presentation, and I'm filling in. I'm subby, so please forgive me if I'm not as accurate. But really, what these all districts are required to complete the LCAP, indicators, and really to look at, to assess where we are in those indicators. And what that really is generated around is the very specific local indicators, which are basic services, which is priority 1 for all students, state academic standards, which is priority 2, parent and family engagement, and as priority area 3, and school climate priority area 6. And access to a broad course of study, are we providing that for students? And that's priority area 7. And what we have to, as the board will approve our LCAP tonight, we'll hopefully, we will then, the indicators are all embedded in terms of these priority areas are embedded within the LCAP document. And this Whiteside had highlighted the areas where they're indicated in the document, which are what is posted. We're required to post our LCAP document, and really our goals, our measures, and what our metrics are for LCAP. We also collect feedback from our community partners, as well as our parents on parent involvement and family engagement. We've seen some increases there. We would love to have more participation of our parents in the surveys. It is an area of growth, but we are making progress towards that. And unfortunately, these are so small. I can't read all the data at this point. But it is in the presentation in terms of that parent involvement. But what we want to see is that growth. So district priorities, one of the areas on basic services is, do we have sufficient access to instructional materials? And do we have teachers that are credentialed? And so it lists on there that we have only 1 out-of-field teacher listed out of all the teachers in our 129 teachers in our district, and which is really an extraordinary number. In addition to the local indicators, district priorities include professional learning, that we provide, training, and this is what the staff assess in terms of our progress. So what they said, are we training our staff on the standards? And in the area of professional learning, the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts, the teachers are reporting that we're at a level 4 out of 5, which is really high in terms of that, as well as in we aligned. So they take each content area and kind of go through it from this, are we teaching the standards? Is our curriculum aligned? And we have a 3 there out of 5, and we're getting new curriculum. So tonight we're going to approve some of that new curriculum in the LA, but also in mathematics, the teachers are ranking us 4 and 5, and in science, they're also ranking that we are in 4 out of 5.
Can you pause there?
Sure.
Just when there are 2 numbers that are checked, like the ELA standards.
I think
There's a 3. Does that mean we're in the mid there?
Yeah, I think we're in close proximity between the 2. And so if you look at the rubric, from initial, we're almost in full, and mostly we're in full implementation. So that's what you want to see. And in fact, in one area of mathematics, they actually rate more like a 4.5.
Right.
Okay, so, so that's really between full and also sustainability, if we can sustain that over time.
And could you back up even farther than Dr. Saviano to where do parents see this? This is on our website.
It's on our website, it's also on our LCAP report. So they can see that if they look at our LCAP report,
Where do they?
and then, and also the LCAP report, part of where the teacher credentials are in the SARP reports. Okay, it's our school accountability report cards. Those are where you indicate, you can look up any district, those SARP reports, and indicates how many misassigned teachers they have. And I think we're doing exceptionally well as a district.
Jordan, how hard is it to find those?
I just pulled it up, go to our website and go to departments. You see educational services and you click on ROWUSD LCAP and take you straight to the page and has all the embedded documents.
Thanks, Jordan. Scott. Scott.
On the first slide, which is where you talk about the teachers, 142, we have one out of field. I understand intern, but what's effective?
What is what?
Effective.
6.
So there's six that are interns. There's one out of field, but there's 6 that are.
Ineffective, it says.
I do not know, but I can research that and get back to it, but I don't think it reflects in terms of a teacher's
I don't think so either,
Yeah.
but I would be,
Yeah.
was curious about that, because I added them up, it's 130, but it's 42, so you have the 6 and 6 intern, and then. So,
let me go back and look at that, because it only indicates one out of field. So, so that doesn't add up.
but both the 6 was added to the total.
They do. I will follow up on that, provide board and Friday update that information.
Thank you, because that word ineffective is.
I do know that the criteria is new, and so, how they categorize things may be different this year. Okay,
Yeah, because just clarification, because it's talking about the credentials, so, one part is incomplete, which I can understand.
Correct.
You might have an incomplete.
or an
So-
intern as well.
Yeah, intern, so I just needed this clarification.
And it could be where it was no reportable data at that time. It might have been maybe a long-term sub that came in at the last, couple of them that came in at the last minute, but we just don't have that information. That's what I would suspect to be.
If you don't mind also, so you could check on that other item, facility conditions, where it says identified instances where facilities do not meet the quote good repair standard, including deficiencies and screen deficiencies. Is that 7 deficiencies? Or what is that 7?
I'm gonna have Ms. Haviland, and she give the facilities address that.
Okay, you will.
That is 7 instances out of all of the FIT reports. So that is the facility inspection tool. That's something that Mr. Zimmer walks the sites with the schools, and they rate the score of, where the bathrooms clean, is the concrete in disrepair. So that would be 7 instances in a category, of all of our
District-wide.
district-wide.
Good.
So that's a good score.
Good.
So, yes, and we turn in, the FIT reports are part of the SART also, and we turn those in, if we have those to, meet the state requirements. They're also audited, so some of these processes are also looked at completed compliance from our, independent auditors here.
Excellent. Thank you.
I have an answer, if you're curious, I pulled up and see the. Did you? Yes, go for it. It provides a definition of an ineffective teacher, an individual whose assignment is legally authorized by an emergency permit that does not require possession of a full teaching credential, or teacher who holds a teaching credential that does not possess permit. Goes to the definition, then gives examples. These would be considered ineffective. Provisional internship permits, short-term staff permits, variable term waivers, and substitute permits, or teaching permits for statutory leave holders.
That's better than the word.
Yeah,
That's much better than the word lies.
and certainly when you also have some folks who may be from out of state who come in and work for our district, their credential is not aligned to ours. they gotta go through the whole approval process, and in the interim, they're still ranked as effective. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, I'm going to continue with implementation standards. With our CTE program, we're ranked 4.5. This is really what the staff is ranking themselves as well. And then based on the data. Health education content standards, again, 4, which was full implementation. Physical education content standards, again, being ranked a 4.
We're like 3 fast that we never want.
Good jump.
Yeah, I think you.
Yeah,
Didn't you
like,
s-
I did all
did you
these.
give up
I did all these.
Getting them the CP.
Right. And then so physical education content, we're ranked 4 again, full implementation. And visual performing arts, 4.5. We're ranked in terms of visual performing arts, and then what languages 4.5. Okay, with professional development, in terms of identified needs, identified professional learning needs of groups of teachers. We still need some work there, right? 3, and that's where the teachers rank themselves in terms of those areas. That's always an area because everyone has a variety of needs. So they may not always not be able to address all those needs in one particular year. This is, remember, sometimes we bring, some additional pre-D that comes. And so therefore, the ranking might be a little lower because some of the teachers felt that that needs to come sooner. And so you're going to see that. And then learning needs for individual teachers, 3.5. And then between initial, we're starting to really implement and full implementation. And then providing support to teachers on standards we have not yet mastered. Again, 3. And I try to don't know context from year to year. And that's something we need to look at closer, see what was it last year, what was it this year, then you can measure was there growth, because it may have been lower than that, and then we're making progress. So I think more information we can provide people on.
But if, as a follow-up to that, I'd be curious to know what the participation rate was in these rankings. Was it all of our teachers?
Yeah, so what happens is we put out this this indicator assessment to all teachers. And we asked site administrators to provide time for teachers to do that. And some may have gotten that in terms of the extra time to do that, or some may have done this on their own. So so that's always a challenge to get full participation. This might be not certainly we could get that data to the board about what was the percentage of teachers participating in that in this survey. Thank you.
Getting all these notes too for Dr. Seven on the way.
It sounds like I have a big Friday update.
One already, Jordan did one.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
Jordan's help.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And then again, I'm going to jump to relationships between staff and families. In here, we're still ranked full implementation on all except for item number 3. So rate of LA's progress in developing capacity of staff, we're ranked 4, which is good. Full implementation. Rate of LA's district's progress in creating a welcoming environment, we're ranked 4, which is again a high score. Full implementation. We'd love to get to full implementation sustainability. That's still ultimately goal. And then one area we probably need to work on is the rate of LA progress, supporting staff to learn about each family's strengths, cultures, languages, and goals for the children. We need to look at that and see how we can do that better for our families. Parent strength is 3 there. Okay? And then the rate of LA progress developing local opportunity for school sites to engage in two-way communication. We ranked at 4. I think that's attributed to we're going out to the schools and meeting with families, parents, attending meetings, LCAP meetings, superintendent's advisory committees. We're getting participation. Obviously, we want more participation, but we're also getting survey results back from parents in terms of what are the things that they want, and we're looking at those.
most of these responses on relationships between staff and families, this information basically came from parents.
It came from
Like parents,
parent and staff and family.
staff and.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to supporting students, families through resource partnerships. LA's progress in professional learning and support of teachers. In terms of, and their capacity to partner with families, they're still saying we're at 3. And we want to see, out of what percent of families and what percent of staff reporting that data. I think there's more information there. And then our progress in providing parents and families with information and resources. Give us a 4 there. I think that has to do a lot of what we're doing with family outreach and our age of excellence, reaching out for help bearers, opportunities for parents to get involved. And I think that's been very helpful. Also, our PTAs do a really good job with that, as well as helping parents with resources. And then number 7, the rate in LA's progress in implementing policies or programs, teachers to meet with families and students, discuss progress and ways to work together. Rank 3 there, we've got some work there. And then the rate of the LA progress in supporting families to understand their legal rights, 4 there for families. Very good. And then how parents can get involved in terms of monitoring their students. We have the Aries portal. Mr. Maloney's done a good job with pushing that out to parents and families who access that on a regular basis. And then also providing translation for families who need that translation services for that information. And then also those resources include Steps for Success and iReady, where your students sit in terms of standards and how they can get some more support in these areas.
And then each of those items that are both in English and Spanish, Mark, you actually have them on the website also, correct? Each of these items that are both in Spanish, they're in Spanish and English, correct? That you have on the screen right now.
I didn't read it, but I guess he can.
Okay. Mark is answering that he's guessing that they look like they're English and it's in Spanish, but they're different portals that looks like. But there's English and Spanish there.
I
It
scanned,
went out with excellence.
Jordan.
yeah, I scanned the QR code and it looks like there are English and Spanish on the resources page that it links to.
Good.
It's another one you can take off your list.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to start paying Jordan.
Educational partner input and the rate that our LA is making progress in building capacity and supporting principals and staff and our families with advisory groups and with in their decision making. They're ranking 4. That's a school site council, some of the PTA meetings that parents have been involved, and also the feedback we're getting in our LCAP meetings for families about what the needs are for our families, and to use that information to make decisions about the resources we need to provide families. And 10, I'm going to go through all these. I rate the LA's progress in building the capacity of supporting family members who effectively engage in advisory groups and decision making. Very similar. I don't know why I went to a 3 there, but looks like we've got some more work. And then on the right of that side lists, all the resources: Parent Square, Class Dojo, Community Outreach. We have a coordinator now. We didn't have that before. Our surveys to our families. I mentioned the school site council, PTA, ELAC, and DLAC, English advisory and district English owner advisory committees. We have Kelvin for feedback surveys. Panorama is a new resource that we've used about 1.5 years implementation. More work there, but really provides supports for students and families to engage in their students' progress. And then our LCAP education partners meetings, as well as communicating we hold school study, student study teams and school attendance review teams that meet to review student progress. So there's a lot of resources we're reaching out to families. It's very obvious we have some more work to do there. And then number 11, rate the LA's progress providing families with opportunities to provide input, policies and programs, and implementing strategies to, that's a long sentence, to reach and seek input from underrepresented groups. Still says 3 there, and more work to be done in those areas. And then rate the LNA's progress in providing opportunities to have families and teachers, principals, and district administrators work together, plan, design, implement, and evaluate family engagement activities. They still rank us a 3, and some more work to be done there.
And Dr. Seviano, I know you keep saying more work, but in some ways it might be good to just review those 5 levels. And number 1 is exploration and research phase.
Correct.
2 is beginning development. Any 3 is saying that we are in initial implementation,
Yeah,
actually on working on that. 4 is full implementation, and then 5 is full implementation and continuing sustainability.
I think it's a good point you raised, and I appreciate you highlighting that. We have started a lot of initiatives that do outreach for our families and communities. And those take a year or so to really fully implement. So the fact that we're at a 3 already in a short time we've implemented these, I think is good progress. I would like to see it over year to year, then you can see a comparison. I think that's a very.
Because looking at 1 to 5, you could say, oh, wow, we're only at a 3, but 3 is saying we're actually in the process of making these things happen.
Well, we want excellence, and we want to get to 4 or 5 for every one of these.
But that takes time.
But it does take time for full implementation. Thank you. And then we're into the last page. Really what this is in student achievement, the areas where we're assessing student performance. And in the metrics we use are in the LCAP and the lists on the right, all of the sequence in which all of the data are reported. So families can look on the LCAP and see how did we do this year in terms of A through G complete, CTE implementation, how we're making progress on English learners, as well as how we're making progress on the state standards. So those very small boxes on the bottom are the dashboard indicators, and obviously they're color coded, and you always want to move green towards green and blue, and we are making progress towards those in several areas. More work to be done. And then, so those areas are really on academic performance. The last area is on our school attendance rates, and chronic absenteeism, middle school dropout rates, and high school dropout rates. The dropout rates we're doing really well in terms of not having dropouts, minimizing dropouts, and we have high graduation rates. And I heard today from the county superintendent, we're averaging countywide 93%. He shared with me that 11 years ago, when he came to San Bernardino County, they were like 77%.
Wow.
And so this made over the last 14 years, tremendous progress by districts, and as well as us included at 93%. In fact, we were at 89, went to 93 in a very short period of time. I think the chronic absenteeism is something the district needs to continue to address to really understand the reasons students are missing school and what are the interventions we can put in place to support families to help their children stay school regularly. Remember, chronic absenteeism is listed as, 1 absence per month over the 10 months. So that's 10% essentially, So the state tracks the number of students in that. And we also have to deal in our community with snow, power outages, we've had the line fire. And so those are not exempt, even though those were emergency days, they're still listed as chronic absenteeism for students. So I'm not using that excuse. We still need to bring that number down. We were at, last year, we were at almost 30%. This year, we're down to 28%, and we're hoping to move that. We'll see at the end of the year when those final numbers come in. Hopefully, it'll be lower than that. But we do have some work to do there, but really educating families about the importance of daily attendance and ensuring our students, if they're not in school, they can't learn, and we really want them very, very.
Two things. I want you to repeat. You said chronic absenteeism is 1 absence per month during the 10 months.
That's correct.
So 10 absences, and included in those are there snow days or fire, anything like that?
Which we had, last year we had used all of them. This year we used what, 4?
Yes.
4, okay.
Could you one of you attempt to do a filtering out of those days that, I know the county doesn't count that, state doesn't count that, but could you do a filtering out just so we really see that in a more accurate picture for ourselves?
Yeah, I just recently asked, Mr. Robinson, Sports Services, provide an update on that, and he indicated it was around 23%. If you took all of those out, which is dropping that further. The state average is around 18%. We're still above the state average. The goal is to move that needle down in terms of the number of absences.
So accounting for those days that are beyond a family or students' control, it would reduce our chronic absenteeism rate by over 7%.
Correct.
That's good to know from an advocacy perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah, because, Ms. Haverland has to put in the emergency days. Anything you want to contribute there for that?
When we have the emergency days, and this is one of the things, because the apportionment reporting that we do is for the funding. So depending on how that attendance data in the student database is uploaded in this lens is a different system than it is for the money side of that attendance day. So, for the reporting that we do, it takes the, like the denominator just changes on those emergency days. So we would, not count those days for the funding because because we have like a waiver, we will get the funding. I don't know how on the CalPad side, how the student calendar and student days are uploaded because, I will still get the money. So I don't dive deep into that. I did make a note, to ask Jen Whiteside also, because when we have the budget side in business, we also are dependent on CalPADS data and, bad data in, whether it's, can equal how it impacts us, attendance data in, I don't know, and so between CWA business and services, we never actually, I haven't had a conversation on that level on what that nexus is. So it'd be interesting to kind of find out how, because we're all dependent on each other, but use data for different reasons. So
I thank you for that explanation. That helps. One of the other mechanisms the governor put in his in terms of this budget was on independent study to recoup money when students are absent. Instead of having, if they go on the independent study for that 2 or 3 days where they have that emergency, and actually it could be 1 day, we can recoup some funding from that.
Some or
Recoup from the funding from that. However, it does not take away, it continues to add to the chronic absenteeism. The absent does not go away. So therefore, you're penalized in chronic absenteeism. Because it accounts for the apportionment, but really not for the absent. And it really hurts our chronic absenteeism rate. So I think that's one of the things that, we've seen to really try to, the mechanism put in was to reduce that number, to put in independent study for students, continue to get their work, and continue to make progress, even when they're absent. However, it does not help their chronic absenteeism rate. That's the issue. And I think that's an area for advocacy that really needs to be addressed. Because if students are making up their work, they're counted as being present for that day, but technically it's considered to be an absence because it's an independent study. So I think it's a kind of a difficult place to be for students and families.
and I think that's why, my average daily attendance rate is usually like, at the state average or a little bit higher, because on the money side of attendance, we're running about 92 to 93%. And so, but I think it's just what we're using the data for is differently, and we can definitely have those conversations. How it impacts.
Thank you.
And then, so if you look on the dashboard indicated, we're red in chronic absent, sorry. If you look on the chronic absenteeism rate, we're red on the dashboard, we explain the reasons for that. And then also graduation rates were blue, which is the highest ranking you could be in the state. And so, and then in the last area, I can barely read that.
Suspension.
Thank you. Suspension rates, I'm sorry, the fonts are, we're down to like 3. That were yellow, which means that, we're right in the middle and we can still make progress in that area.
Yeah.
And well, there is one more slide, isn't there?
Yeah.
Okay. Priority 7, really is course access. And what you're looking at is, do we offer a broad course of studies with all of our student groups? And the answer is yes. And the data in terms of the metrics are listed on the right side, and really programs and service for, our English learners, our students with disabilities. We're offering a broad course of study for those students. And so that those indicators indicate that. That's a double whammy, sorry. Pupil outcomes, other indicators are areas we need to look at are, obviously in terms of our report cards and looking at our DNF rates to see if we're making progress there. And obviously we've got still more work to do. We want to see all the students, not receive DNF, but we do have some that earn those grades, and we have to see how can we reduce that number by providing interventions and supports for students. And I think that's important. And then our college and career indicator is an area we're looking at as a district, because in order to meet that requirement, it's not only is it age reduced, it's also in terms of CTE. And one of the areas we're looking at on CTE is students must complete a 2-course sequence in CTE in order to meet that requirement for meeting CTE requirements. And what we have right now is students, which is great, are wanting to see a variety of CTE options for them. But if they don't complete a capstone course, that means the initial course and then the capstone course, the district is penalized. The student doesn't complete a CTE in terms of requirement, meet their requirement. So we are looking at some ways to reduce that, meeting with Ms. Phillips and the counselors to talk about, maybe that we ask students to commit for a sequence for the first 2 years, and then they can then expand after those next 2 years once they complete that sequence. So with some exceptions as well. So I'm going to stop there because it's been a long presentations, and this is something that Ms. Whiteside put together, and I probably didn't do it justice. But does the board have any questions?
Any questions? We've been kind of doing that throughout. It would be helpful to see the indicators on those last 2, the priority 7 and priority 8, because she unfortunately didn't get those included because she included some of the other pictures and images of things that we are doing, like the dual enrollment, like the Abbott, and things like that.
And we have added dual enrollment that does help with their college career readiness. The goal is to expand that program. We're making good progress with Cal State University San Bernardino courses. We are in discussions with Crafton Hills College to add additional dual enrollment. And remember that dual enrollment right now are for our highest level students are taking AP courses. We really want to open that up and broaden that to students who are on non-AP track, and to all students. So more information to come there. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to move to discussion and action items 10. 10.1, Educational Services Adoption of the 2026-2027 Local Control and Accountability Plan for Rim of the World Unified School District, Fiscal Impact None. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jordan?
Second.
Scott? And now we're open for discussion. We've actually had the presentation in last month's meeting. We've gone through the LCAP now in multiple reports. Are we ready to, do we have any discussion on? And do you have anything to say about the report, sir?
No, I think that through the governance calendar, we've addressed each one of the components that we're required to publicly, as well as the board to look at the data and also the budget and to ensure that it meets the requirements, meets the needs of our students. And that's really what this LCAP is designed to do.
And the report we just had actually was looking ahead at some of the things that have come out of this year's LCAP. So if there's no questions, no discussion, call for question then. All those in favor of the report, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.2, business services approval to adopt the proposed 2026-2027 budget, fiscal impact, none. Now, is there a motion?
So moved.
Jordan, Scott? I know. I'm not sure I understand how there's no fiscal impact.
There's no fiscal impact of you adopting the budget, like that process of
It
adopting.
doesn't cost us any for us to say
Yeah,
yes.
so the fiscal impact is the whole entire document itself, which can be changed, is ever changing every single day. And which you've already given me authority through board action to make those necessary budget transfers as they come along.
Good.
So that action of approving our budget does not have a fiscal impact.
Sure seems like it does. Paul,
Yeah,
yes.
call it that joke.
Go ahead, Dr. Sutton.
I just want to also commend Ms. Whiteside, Ms. Hammerlin for their work on the LCAP and also, working with our entire community stakeholders, really to meet the needs of our students. And that really reflects the outcomes of this document. So I want to just extend my appreciation for their work.
And they have made sure that we have followed the protocol and we're putting everything in the right order too. LCAP first, and now we're talking about the budget. Is there any discussion, gentlemen? Okay, all those in favor of approving the proposed 2026-2027 budget, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.3, superintendent approval of the contract for the newly appointed assistant superintendent personnel and pupil services fiscal impact to be determined as a budget resource, unrestricted general funds and restricted general funds. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Scott,
Second.
Jordan? And with this, Dr. Saviano, yes, you might want to report about the new assistant, I have to get this correct, assistant superintendent, who unfortunately is unavailable, so you can't introduce that individual, but introduce that person anyways.
Yes, we are truly excited to have Dr. Lori Slayton as our new assistant superintendent of human resources and pupil services. Dr. Slayton comes with a wealth of experience in as a superintendent as well as human resources. She has been a superintendent in two different districts in Kern County, and she has built two different human resources departments. We really feel, and the work that she's done around student support services is going to be an excellent match for our district. We're excited to have her as part of our cabinet and looking forward to the work ahead. And you're correct, she unfortunately could not be here tonight. She had a planned vacation and she begins her work here shortly on July 7th. And we're just excited to have her join our team.
Thanks. Any questions? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the approval of the contract for newly appointed assistant superintendent, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.4, superintendent approval of the renewed contract for the chief of business CBO. Our fiscal impact is to be determined budget source, unrestricted general funds and restricted general funds. I move that we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Jordan? Now, do we want to discuss the CBO and her contract?
No. No, she's awesome. Happy time to be fine.
You want to say, do you want to say anything about your CBO, sir?
Absolutely. We're just really over the top to have Ms. Haviland continue to remain as CBO in our district. She brings a wealth of experience and knowledge. And it's rare, you know, I've worked with a number of CBOs over my time, and she ranks as one of the top, as the top CBO I've ever worked with. And we're just excited to have her back. And she didn't go anywhere at this point, but I'm excited to have her continue her employment in our district and be part of our cabinet. She's a valuable member to our cabinet. And we're making tremendous progress on our budget and addressing some of the budget issues. And she's always coming up with solutions and recommendations to address that. She contributes not only in budget, but in a number of ways. And she runs a really excellent business department. They work well as a team, and it's just so nice to see that continuity remain in the district.
And I am pleased that the contract is a 4-year contract. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. It's a 4-year contract.
So she stuck with us. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye of approving the renewed contract for the chief of business, the CBO. Say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Thank you, Jen.
Again, we do appreciate you, and we appreciate that you are always available to give us insight and information and very responsive, and you do it in a positive way. So thank you. And you know numbers well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. 10.5, Superintendent, first reading of proposed model board policy and administrative regulation 6142.1, sexual health and HIV/AIDS prevention instruction. Have a motion?
So moved.
Jordan?
Second.
Scott? Any discussion? Dr. Saviano, you want to summarize anything about the regulation that's about sexual health and HIV/AIDS prevention?
This is in California Education Code requirements to provide this information to students and in terms of prevention and instruction. So it's a CSB update. It is a required update for the state of California.
And just for my clarification, since it's a first reading, do we actually have to approve the first readings or?
Yes, we do. We approve the first reading because if there's any feedback, then we would take that feedback and make adjustments, bring it back for a second reading. This provides that opportunity for that.
Okay, because there will be a second reading, that's what has to be approved at that time too.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. 10.6, Superintendent, first reading of proposed board policy and administrative regulation 6142.8, comprehensive health education. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Jordan?
Second.
Scott? Any discussion? You want to summarize again or not? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.7, Superintendent, first reading of proposed board policy and administrative regulation 5141.4, child abuse prevention and reporting. Do I have a motion? Bill moves. Your motion?
Second.
Scott? I think it might be helpful to clarify how many people now are expected to report, Dr. Saviano.
Yes. This includes board members as well,
Mhm.
and it's all staff, and really to really develop strategies for preventing and recognizing and promptly reporting suspected child abuse and neglect. We are mandated reporters, and we are required by law in which to report that, and particularly within a period of time.
And we have added board members as a part of that we are as board members mandated reporters as well. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye, carried unanimously. 10.8 Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy 1000, concepts and roles. I have a motion.
So moved.
Scott,
Second.
Jordan. Any discussion? I'm sorry, I'm not remembering. This is about us, but I'm not remembering either of you.
I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is for the governing board, really. It just broadens, in terms of the board's role, in terms of, how we outreach to our, promote collaboration in the district between our parents and guardians, our community members and local organizations. And it really responds, how do we respond to our community priorities? And it just adds language for that. And, really, that's all the red you see there is the updated language. We did have those in policy, it just broadens the policy.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.9 Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy and administrative regulation 1114, district sponsored social media. I have a motion.
So
Scott,
Second.
Jordan. Any discussion? We continue to try to improve what we're doing in evaluating social media and its influence, and also how we participate in it, as well as our students and staff.
It also it really describes our responsibilities in terms of our roles, how we provide oversight for that, how we communicate to our families. And, you know, Mr. Malone's done an excellent job with looking at that. We've had to look at our websites as well and our social media, see how, if we meet requirements for meeting all the various needs for a community that's out there.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. 10.10 Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy 2120, superintendent recruitment and selection. I have a motion.
So moved.
Scott,
Second.
Jordan. Any discussion?
I just want to share that, you know, I don't want to share too much information and we'll start looking for a new superintendent.
All those in favor?
So really, this just broadens really what the board's roles are in terms of the superintendent search and really offering contracts, and those must be public contracts.
Public. And at this time and for the next several years, we are not planning on this one. Is that correct? Correct. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.11 Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy 4000, concepts and roles. This connects with the one previous. So go ahead. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Scott,
Second.
Jordan. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Carried unanimously. 10.12 Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy 5000. Continuing this process because there's different aspects of our board policies, concepts and roles. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Scott, second.
Second.
Jordan, any discussion? Are you looking, Jordan?
I've just been pulling them up in case there are questions.
Good. Are you okay though?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. I'm not asking no because I'm hearing 3 votes yes. 10.13. Superintendent, first reading of proposed board policy and administrative regulation 5020, parent rights and responsibilities. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jordan,
Second.
Scott, I would pause to remind that this is one of the things that parents need to be aware of and looking at and seeing what is our board policy, even what, or we suggest what's a state saying that we need to make changes in our policies that relate to parents' rights and responsibilities. I, for one, am on the board because I want to make sure that our parents have full rights and that we continue to support the rights and the responsibilities of our parents. Dr. Saviano.
Yeah, just if I may, we send out the annual parent notifications every year that meet these requirements. That we provide parents with the information on, various rights they have. And we do that on a regular basis. We vet that with our legal team before we send those out to ensure that we meet all full compliance requirements.
Both the policy and the administrative regulation are excellent sources because they reference all of those resources as well.
Yes, which is another point about, oops, sorry, which is another excellent comment there, Jordan. It's another point about all of our regulations have the supporting documents listed there and links that you can actually follow and pursue the information that supports each of these policies. But again, I think it's important that parents be aware and actually look at this policy because it does govern how we relate and what rights and responsibilities our parents have. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. 10.14, Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy 5141.5, mental health. I have a motion.
So moved.
Jordan,
Second.
Scott. Discussion. Mental health is an area of concern across the nation. And growing concern. We continue obviously to do things to try to help meet the needs of our students and our staff. So anything to add? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.15, Superintendent first reading of proposed board policy and administrative regulation 5141.52, suicide prevention. Do I have a motion? Scott?
Second.
Jordan? Any discussion?
This was Ms. Whiteside, she's been spending a lot of work with our counselors on updating our suicide prevention plan in terms of our protocols, what education we provide students to recognize those students are having a difficulty and how do we intervene and working with families, and then what are the resources we provide them in terms of that follow-up. So I think that the counselors have put together a good plan. We'll share that with the board when Ms. Whiteside returns and what that plan looks like.
Excellent. And I think it's important for us to understand that we take every comment of concern that a student or staff person might make as serious and not to in any way try to, how should I say, minimize or discipline, but instead to really be responsive to whatever concern they might be expressing. With that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.16, Personnel Services Approval of Proposal for Advantage Athletic Training. Fiscal impact not to exceed $45,000. Budget source unrestricted general fund. I move that we approve this. Is there a second?
Second.
Scott, second.
I just want to say that this is long overdue, and I thank you for pushing this forward, making sure that this happens for the safety of our athletes.
Dr. Saviano, do you want to speak to it too?
Yes, we are working with AT Advantage to provide athletic training services for our student athletes. Unfortunately, we can't cover, we can't hire a full-time trainer. We obviously want to get there, but this is a good way of providing some resources for student athletes. They will be present, the athletic trainers will be present at all the majority of athletic events, particularly the high impact ones. and also provide, athletic training services for assisting athletes with rehabilitation of their injuries. And it also minimizes the district's liability for having a board certified state athletic trainer at the site during events. We would like to see to expand this, but I want to also express my appreciation to Ms. Haberlin for finding the resources to help us get this started.
And I also want to just point out that our coaches over the years have done an excellent job of minimizing injuries and taking care of injuries and becoming aware and being educated as to what to do. And they've done a great job in providing those services, without the funding. But now it's nice to have the funding and people there to assist in that.
Because our coaches have been the key ones who have had to even determine, is this a potential concussion? How do we hold the student out and all? Which, that's putting them in a tough place because they want their people to play, but at the same time, you've got to protect that student. So I too am really pleased, because in any of our contact sports, especially, it's so important for us to have this kind of a resource. So thank you, Dr. Saviano. With that, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.17, Educational Services, approval of the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt California Collections 2-year digital access quote for English language arts for grades 6 through 8 in the 2026-2027 year and the 2027-2028 school years. Fiscal impact $26,742.25. Budget source is restricted lottery. Do I have a motion? So, was that you, Scott? No, thank you.
Second.
Jordan? Any discussion? Dr. Saviano, I don't believe this is a change, isn't it just a continuing of this?
Yes, and this also gives us the updated versions that are further aligned to the state standards.
Good, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously. 10.18, Educational Services approval of Houghton Mifflin Harcourt California Journeys 2-year digital access quote for elementary English language arts in the 2026-2027 and 2027-2028 school years. Fiscal impact $55,335.75. Budget source restricted lottery. So Scott?
Second.
Jordan? Any discussion?
Does this wipe out our lottery funds?
Jenny just said, no, it does not.
We actually, the restricted side of the lottery, we don't use that, we don't use the full amount every year. And so we build it up to be able to do a textbook adoption if there's not restricted funds that we can, maybe identify, and then we build it up again, so.
Good.
We don't get a ton of money, but we have to just build it up.
Good. More evidence of good CVO. 10.19, business, I didn't vote, sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried unanimously. Sorry about that. 10.19, business services direction on TBP, which stands for.
It's TBP.
That's exactly what they're called. I thought they had an explanation, and I probably asked that before. TBP architecture options and budget for Valley of Enchantment Elementary and Mountain High School. We might want to correct that in the minutes when we do that. Rather than Valley of Elementary, Valley of Enchantment Elementary, I'm going to put that in there. And I am going to move that we approve that. And is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Saviano, do you want to explain how this is actually taking into consideration the needs of both Valley of Enchantment Elementary and Mountain High School?
I'm going to have Ms. Haberlin, because we provided direction to the staff to bring this forward, and we just want to formalize the process. Ms. Haberlin?
Would you like me to stay here or go? Okay, I'll just stay here if that's okay. Go more informal today. We have a PowerPoint, you have a handout, okay? Which is a brief summary, in prior board updates. I've sent some schematic designs, mirrored off of LAE that TBP, architecture has provided us when they've done their assessments and their walks at Valley of Enchantment. And just to review, we do want a formal process of board, approval to move, in this direction, because, plan and designs to have DSA ready to submittal, I mean, that's several $100,000s of architectural costs. So giving them the yes, we're going to move, even though our current dollars are being spent on LAE first, there's a kind of a method to the madness. We want to kind of keep the momentum of project plan design, also with a secondary project plan design, then construction, and then depending on the funds available, be ready for another sale as we apply for our matching, and not have a break in that continuous motion. So to really become shovel ready for VOE by the time that secondary source of revenue comes in. And we wanted to clarify that the direction we were previously given was to have electrical upgrades done first district-wide to support upgraded HVAC. So being able to not spend all of our dollars in one site or in alternative programs, because the overachieving goal is upgraded electrical that will support generators, and generators that will support the infrastructure that we're building with technology and again, then adding air conditioning. So that has been our focus with every project. 25% of the project does become ADA work. So, our dollars then are stretched even thinner, which then we also addresses site work, which can be a lot of path of travel and like the egress, parking standards as that they go. So then that takes a lot of the money too. So when it gets down to what's really available for a project like HVAC, we have to be very mindful of our dollars, especially with the slopes that every school has. And then with some of the new safety technology, there is different thresholds of all of the doorways and different weights of the hinges, and how they lock to be able to keep intruders out, like you can have a safe lockdown in a classroom if needed. So there's a lot of different components with that. So this is all based on the premise of that overarching direction of get the electrical to support generators and to support HVAC and what comes with that. So on the second page is where we're at with the state eligibility matching funds. And you can see the schools that have available dollars now, which is the match, is we have LAE.
Excuse me, Jenny, does this happen to be in
No,
present?
it's not, this is just some power, but there's copies for the audience.
Okay.
Yes, so the LAE, Rim High and Mountain High School has eligibility now. Going back several years to measure W, in the boards at that time, made an intentional effort because of knowing that there was a smaller bond issue and knowing there were smaller dollars. It was $22 million bond. We did a $71 million bond. That every student up here goes through MPH and goes through high school. So every student can be touched. And so that was the kind of the theory of why a lot of work was done at MPH and Rim High first. There's some sites got none of, or very little of Measure W dollars. And Valley of Enchantment's electrical and it had been upgraded further along than than LAE's with Measure W. So they did have an electrical project then. And the discussion became of, well, since Mountain High has eligibility now, do we also ask for permission to start doing some projects at Mountain High School? Identified construction costs only of what Mountain High School needs are almost $1 million. Okay, but when we looked at our overall but more direction of getting to HVAC, they already have HVAC in their classrooms and they have a brand new functioning generator. So looking at, so bypassing, what we're asking is we really want to bypass some of these other schools, even though they have eligibility. So we thought, if someone asks, well, why aren't you picking a school that also has eligibility? That's the why behind that. And Mountain High did get some COPS dollars that funded their gate, that their new gate that they built in with Measure W. They had, an almost $1 million restroom project then. So that's the why we're not recommending right now putting in a project. Doesn't mean that we couldn't identify small projects to do. We're also, by the end of summer, we'll have our new COPS application in. That's nearly done with our pre-application. And so then being able to divvy up some other monies as they come along. So just wanted to say how it relates to our state eligibility is part of the why. The next page, you'll see the construction cost at VOE, the estimated construction costs, really using what the work that we did at LAE kind of as a template of how to move forward. Although every site could have a design difference because the campuses are designed differently, and some of the shell of the buildings could have to be made of different material. So that's it addresses that. But keeping with that base amount to maintain funding, we would recommend moving forward on only the base upgrades and site upgrades. And and these numbers have contingencies built in. So they might, depending on what construction costs do over the next 3 years, of course. So moving forward with just those two areas, even though with our facility master plan, we've identified more needs than there are, we're recommending that we give the thumbs up to TVP to move forward in the plan design, so we can just kind of have that cycle and not lose momentum.
So the plan design would only be those first two.
Yes.
They wouldn't do any work on plan design for the other three: window replacement, roofing replacement, or shade
Yeah,
structure.
we didn't approve that for LAE yet.
Correct.
So we would be keeping that same that same direction as we move through the schools, so we can be prudent with our dollars to try to get that HVAC going and electrical going as far as we can.
And just to clarify, the base upgrades plus ADA. Now, ADA is going to be 25% of the whole project, right? Or how much of that do you think is ADA?
I'd have to really go through that schematic.
Okay.
And that would be in there. They have each component priced out. I don't have that ready. And site upgrades has ADA in it also.
Yeah, I was assuming.
Yes.
I would also just remind the board that gave us direction to pursue this
Right.
in our last board discussion on this topic. And so we're following the direction of the board to prioritize VOE's HVAC and electrical upgrades.
I think it's always helpful, particularly for people who will be listening and looking at this later, just to be aware that what our goal is to try to do what we can to get air conditioning in all of our schools, but especially the ones that have, like VOE, that are the warmest. Okay. Did that all of the report things? So any other questions, gentlemen?
Yeah, just noting that, I think this is anticipated in some way, but this is approximately a little over $2 million more than what we had in our master facilities plan for VOE. how are we going to account for this as we continue moving process?
Because the facility master plan was only construction dollars. That was not taking into account kind of what they call the soft costs of construction. It was only building the units. So knowing that our facility master plan had roughly $114 million worth of identified projects, and we could even go more, knowing that that wasn't what was going. There was gonna be soft costs, architectural designs, DSA, engineers on top of that.
You can't just go buy an air conditioner and have it land, can
You
you?
can't, unfortunately. We have the word school in our entity, so.
Any other comments or questions, gentlemen? Okay, and then I'll call the question. All those in favor of giving the direction to TBP architecture options and budget for Valley of Enchantment Elementary and Mountain High School, say aye. Aye. Carried unanimously.
If I may note, the TBP does have a name.
Oh, it does.
Yes, the Blue Rock Partnership.
The blur.
Yes.
Jordan,
That's not-
I've never seen that in anything they've given me. I don't
That's
think.
not what it stands for.
It is, that's why the T is lowercase, stands for the, and then Blue Rock Partnership is the VP. It was founded by William E. Blue Rock, I think actually maybe is how it's said. And so they founded in 1952. He was one of the founders. It went through a lot of name changes, and they simplified it in 1996.
So it's no longer lowercase t, it's an uppercase t?
Lowercase
It
t,
is, oh, so we
It
need
is.
to fix
capital
that
V
too.
two.
Yeah. it's
So
lowercase.
our minutes need to have that be a lowercase t and a capital B P.
If we do
Along
that, then
Valley of Enchantment Elementary.
we should also include the slash.
Oh, there's a slash there too.
TBP slash architecture Inc.
Architecture Inc. Okay, not architecture options.
Proposal was it?
No.
We'll get that clarified and appropriately in the minute. Thank you, Sue. 10.20, business services approval of resolution number 2526-17 to authorize temporary borrowing between funds of the Rim of the World Unified School District for the 2026-2027 school year. Fiscal impact none. Have a motion?
So moved.
Jordan,
Second,
Scott.
it's a Peter all resolution.
Okay, any discussion? This is a normal thing we have to do every summer to make sure that we're able to fund everything. Is that correct?
This particular one, the one that to make the budget appropriations were the last board meeting. This is if individual funds needed to borrow from each other for cash purposes only.
Okay.
And we haven't had to do this in years, but we did have to do this with both preschool and adult ed this year, only because it's a reimbursable grant. So we had to spend our money first. So I record that as a loan between two funds, and then then it gets paid, and then through the accounting work at closing, when they get their cash, it pays back. It's not a financial statement item. It doesn't hit reserves in any way. It's purely a balance sheet item between cash.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any further questions about that? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Gentlemen, we haven't had anything that there's been any negative vote on.
Are you looking for disagreement?
No, he's looking for something. And he doesn't care.
We're point 11. Pardon? Schools. Okay. All right, consent calendar now, just a second. It doesn't say here, but what I'm gonna ask for any items that wish to be pulled from the consent calendar. Like us to pull number 30?
Your discussion on development fees, please.
Anything else, gentlemen? Are you ready? So we will only be, okay, with that, then I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar for items 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4, 11.5, 11.6, 11.7, 11.8, 11.9, 11.10, 11.11, 11.12, 11.13, 11.14, 11.15, 11.16, 11.17, 11.18, 11.19, 11.20, 11.21, 11.22, 11.23, 11.24, 11.25, 11.26, 11.27, 11.28, 11.29, 11.31, 11.32, 11.33, 11.34, 11.35, and 11.36. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
That was moved by Scott. Second, Jordan. Any discussion?
Can you read those again?
Those were, I can. Do you want me to?
He withdraws his comment.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, carried unanimously. And now we'll go back to 11.30. Dr. Severiano, you want to speak to 11.30, please?
If there's a motion.
If you, so I have a motion to approve. Scott,
So
Second.
I got my paperwork out of order. I apologize. All right, now Dr. Severiano.
Yes, the board directed staff to come back with a recommendation on developer fees increases. And I have Ms. Haverland going to present some information regards that.
Okay, you have a handout that with just some information on the developer fee increase recommendation. Our current rate for a residential remodel or build is 84 cents per square footage. We are allowed to go as high as $5.38. Our commercial is 34 cents and maximum allowed is 87 cents. And with storage units, of course, are set at a different amount. When looking at some neighboring districts that has rural areas, and we were probably in the low middle in that. And then looking at balancing that community support and that impact on our community and balancing the district needs with developer fees. We can do some projects with developer fees that can be a matching source to the bond. So developer fees can, if there's a nexus between student growth and the need for those fees and maintaining equity at different sites. And this is slow, kind of rolling in dollars. Another one that we might build up over 10 years, 15 years, and then spend. There's currently about $700,000 and then in that fund, and then being able to then work with our architects and Ken, who spoke with our enrollment study. He also does a lot of his expertise is looking at how to maximize and matching dollars and projects on what projects would qualify for use of these dollars. It could lead the way to ease some pressure on Measure E funds or expand some of those funds when we need it. And so looking at what would be maybe a stepping if we chose to of an increase so that going to residential at $1.25, which is a 41 cent per square foot increase. And then commercial of 45 cents, but which is an 11 cent per square foot increase. There is approval today would just kick off the government code process, which is publication in papers, a board hearing. That would be in September, August or September. Then we have to give notice to different agencies with an implementation of the new fee, so many days. I have it if we wanted to go through that timeline. But then you could decide to raise it again, because we still have the justification to. We don't need to go back, but we must have another justification study done by 2031, tongue tied there. So we have to do one every 5 years. It doesn't mean you can't do one sooner. We did one a little bit sooner, because we felt like we could have, justify a higher. We didn't know we get justified as the highest. So, which we did. And, you could decide to say in a couple of years, let's do another increase. And you don't have, and you just go through the formal timeline with board hearings again, but you would need to pay for another study.
It sounds like it would take approximately a year to implement.
About 6 months.
6 months, okay. And do you have any idea how much per year it comes in right now?
About 70 grand.
That's 70.
Yeah.
Any other questions, gentlemen?
And I had it in the last presentation we did, we had, 73,284 was the prior year, fiscal year 24-25. The year prior to that was 79,692. And we've collected to date, this was in, May, our May board meeting, we had collected 50,000 so far. So no, it comes in slowly, that's why you build it up over a 10 to 12 year period.
So that means it actually could go up almost a third more than those numbers. Okay, any other questions, gentlemen?
What do you think, Scott?
Your mic.
I have a little bit of experience with building, so yeah,
Just sort of.
these are always fees that I had to pay, and I always thought they were more than appropriate. So, I mean, I never found any problem with it. I always thought it was great. It goes directly to the school district, it goes directly to the kids and their needs, and it's always been very reasonable. And if you built in other areas, it is very high. And I think our school district's always been very reasonable, and I agree with these numbers.
You don't need to?
No.
Jordan, you're not on.
Thank you, I appreciate the insights.
Well, okay then, 12th question. Did we do a motion?
No.
I thought we did on 13.
We did a motion to.
To discuss again.
That's it.
Discuss.
So we have to have a motion to.
Okay, so you
We have a motion and second, and so.
well, let's move. Hey,
We are
regardless.
Using it.
It's a-
To adopt
it's 11,
yeah.
it's 11.30. I'll entertain a motion just to make sure. To approve.
As recommended.
Okay, I motion to approve the recommended rates for increasing the residential and commercial rates from residential 0.84 to 1.25, and for commercial, which is currently 0.34 to 0.45.
And do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I
Carried unanimously. That's nice. Thank you. 13, governance team future agenda items planning. Time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. Do you have any items, gentlemen?
Nothing outside or regular governance calendar.
Yeah, I think we've had some things that were commented on earlier. Okay, thank you.
Ready on this.
Yes. With that, we'll move to number 14, future meeting dates, regular board meeting, August 2026, 4 p.m., closed session 5:30, open session for 24740 San Moritz Way, Express Line, California 92325. Secondly is our regular board meeting on September 17th, 2026, 4 p.m. closed session, 5:30 open session, 24740 San Moritz Way, Express Line, California 92325. There is no further business for closed session, so we do not need to recess. So with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Jordan,
Second.
Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.